Hello everyone, and welcome to The Order, and welcome to Scrapheap Treasure, the series where I buy, repair, recycle and resell used hardware. In the last episode I recycled an old HP PC, and in this episode I'm gonna put its salvage components to good use. In the first part of this video I'm going to mount this cooler which I salvaged from the HP on my main PC, and in the second part of the video I'm going to show you which components of the HP are useful and which are scrap. Now here is my plan. I want to mount this HP cooler instead of this box Intel cooler. Now usually this cooler is designed to intake cool air from here and exhaust it through here, so I have to mount it oriented like this. But I want to add a little twist. I want to mount it like this, and I'm simply gonna flip this fan so it intakes air from here and exhausts it through here. Now before I can install this cooler I have to see if it fits, because these HP motherboards sometimes have slightly different mounting holes than the standard 775 socket. So now let's remove the stock heatsink. And the heatsink is out. Actually this is not a stock Q6600 heatsink. This is actually a dual core E5200 heatsink. The Q6600 heatsink is a lot thicker and it has a copper base. But let me tell you why I am using this heatsink instead of the original one. Well, I was working on a client's PC and he also had a Q6600, but his PC was overheating because of a buildup of dust. So I tried to remove his original cooler and I found out that it was super glued to his motherboard. I couldn't believe it, so when I pulled his cooler, it broke off. These little clips were glued into the holes. I couldn't believe it. So I didn't have another Q6600 cooler, so I basically left him with my cooler and installed this one on my PC. Okay, so I cleaned up the old thermal compound. Now let's test fit the cooler. And we got a problem. This section of the cooler is hitting these components right here, so I can't mount it oriented like this, and unfortunately there is no way to put this fan here. So it looks like I'm going to have to keep the original orientation. Let's see if it fits like this. Oh, it fits perfectly. Nice. Well, it looks like I'm gonna use it like this. I expect better performance than the stock E5200 heatsink. Now, before I mount this cooler, there are two things that I need to do. First, I need to lubricate and clean up this fan because it's a bit dusty. I have made a lot of videos on the topics. I will post them on the screen. And the second part is, well, this is the backplate from the cooler. Now this part touches my motherboard's electrical components, so I have to cut this back bracket from here so that I can mount the cooler on my motherboard. And so I have cleaned up and lubricated the fan, and also I have cut out the backplate. Now let's clean the base of the cooler with an alcohol-soaked cotton swab. I will put my thermal compound tutorial somewhere on the screen. The same goes for my CPU as well. Okay, I'm going to apply the thermal compound. Again, you can refer to my thermal compound tutorial to see the proper way to apply thermal compound. Now I can mount the cooler in place. And so the installation is complete. I had to flip the fan over so that its cable could reach the fan header. Now let's turn on the system. And the new cooler's fan is spinning. Here are two shots of the finished installation. And here are the stress tests. There isn't a great improvement in the idle temperatures, but the low temperatures are significantly improved. Now let's move on to the component summary. So here is what I managed to salvage from the HP PC. Unfortunately, the RAM, the CPU and the motherboard were destroyed by the power surge. The 92mm case fan, the CPU cooler and the speaker are in working order. The power supply is damaged because it's outputting weird voltages, but I think it's repairable. And finally, the case doesn't seem to fit standard form factor motherboard, so I don't think it can be used in another build. But in the end, I think that the salvage components aren't bad. And so, this concludes this episode of Scrapheap Treasure. As always, send in your questions, like, comment and subscribe for more tech videos. This is the TechOrder, signing out.